What's up, guys? Artem MMA Analysis here. Going to be talking about Dana White's Contender Series 2022, week number 7 with Bert MMA, who I've been following for a very long time. You guys are probably quite familiar with him as well, as he is a pretty big name in the community. So we're going to start talking about Dana White's Contender Series. What do you think about the card in general, Bert?
One word to describe the card. It's stacked. It's absolutely stacked. We got the Bonfim brothers, who one of them's 12-0 undefeated, finding another undefeated guy who just beat an undefeated guy. Half of the card is undefeated on this card. We got a rematch in the main event. We got two undefeated women's MMA fighters, both really good jiu-jitsu and wrestling. Nariman, Abbasov on here taking on a Bonfim brother. What more can you ask for a Dana White Contender Series card?
There's really not much more you could ask for as well. And we've also got a big heavyweight fight as well on the card. I think it's super stacked, which is why I had to bring you on the show so we could talk about it. But a little bit disclaimer though, at the moment it is super windy where I'm living right now. So hopefully my Wi-Fi doesn't cut out and hopefully it's all smooth sailing from here. But let's just get straight into the first fight. We've got Tereza Bledá taking on Nayara Maia. And the odds have Tereza Bledá as a ridiculously big favorite. She is sitting at minus 700, minus 650 right now. What do you think about the odds there, Bert?
I'm going to say it's a little bit too much. Now, I'm going to go Tereza Bledá to win the fight, but minus 700 going against a 7-0 undefeated Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighter like Nayara, who's got the possibility of finishing on the bottom if Tereza's not careful with her decisions on top of the ground and pound, seems like a little bit much, but I do agree that she should be the favorite. Not that big of a favorite, though.
I thought she was going to be about minus 300, and when she
I
opened
would
minus 700, I thought it was crazy. But one thing that I like to point out about Tereza Bledá is when she was an 18-year-old amateur, she did defeat Lucy Pudilova, and that was Lucy Pudilova's first fight since getting cut from the UFC. So I think that's a really good win to have on a record. And then even since then, if we're just going to talk about Tereza Bledá, the level of competition that this girl is fighting is very impressive, in my opinion, for a girl that is 5-0 coming into Contender Series. Like, we've got a girl that was 9-1 in her last one. She defeated a girl that was 10-7. And you may look at that record and think it's not too flash, but you've got to consider the fact that at the time, Tereza Bledá was 3-0. So that's a much more experienced opponent there. So what do you make of that record there, Bert?
I mean, usually, like you were saying before we went on for this live stream, was that usually the amateur career doesn't mean much. But when you have a Lucy Pudilova who just finished her UFC career, that got back into the UFC after losing to you, and that's one of your first amateur fights. I mean, that's an amazing addition to your career and your record. And after that, she just went on a tear, getting more decisions on her amateur career and pretty much finishing almost everyone as a pro. So she's got a great record.
Yeah, well, it's actually worth noting that this was some sort of tournament that Octagon was hosting, and Lucy Pudilova at the time was a professional MMA fighter with a lot of experience under her belt in the UFC. And Tereza Bledá, 18 years old, she's 20 years old now, went and defeated her, which is a crazy win to have, in my opinion, especially at that age. But what do you make out of Nayara Maia's skill set as well, if we're going to talk about the underdog in this matchup?
Striking, I don't think it's going to be too much of a factor here because both girls are so good on the ground, such good wrestlers, such good grapplers. Really seems like one of those like Arman Saryuki and Mateusz Gamrot ones. We're going to see some good scrambles here, some ground and pound, submission attempts and all that type of stuff. But Nayara, if she wants to win, it's going to be during one of those scrambles, pulling off a guillotine, an armbar, a triangle choke. She needs to find something in the midst of a scramble on Tereza Bledá when she's going for ground and pound. Other than that, I think it should be pretty smooth sailing for Bledá in the fight.
Yeah, I agree. I'm pretty big on Bledá, and it is worth noting that I would consider Bledá more of a wrestler more than a jiu-jitsu player. She does tend to take a girl down and then take her down again, and she does eventually find that finish. She's got 4 finishes out of 5 fights in her professional career. Do you think that she'll finish this fight, considering the fact that you're picking her?
I'm on the fence about it. Very on the fence about it. The reason being is Nayara Maia right here has good enough jiu-jitsu to where that if Tereza Bledá is close enough to get a ground and pound TKO or something, she's elbowing on top, about to get the finish, Nayara has that opportunity to use the submissions to kind of stay away from getting finished, just to be able to survive just that little bit longer. So If there is going to be a finish, I would say it's probably going to be a little bit later on towards the fight. Second or third round for Tereza Bledá, and I'll go finish. I'm going to go Tereza Bledá TKO round, like end of round 2.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going with as well. I do think that Tereza Bledá is going to take down Nayara Maia, but I think that Nayara Maia is going to end up standing up again, and then Bledá will take her down again.
Yeah.
And it might be a little bit of a rinse and repeat until Bledá ends up getting a finish. But if we look at the Tapology votes, 86% on Bledá. I mean, she's a minus 700 favorite to start with, only 14% on Maia. Not many people picking the finish, but if you look into Bledá's record, she really has fought a decent level of competition, and she does have 4 finishes on her record as well. So I think we'll wrap up that fight. It's the first fight of the night, Tereza Bledá versus Nayara Maia, and we've got one that I am very, very excited to talk about, Ismael Bonfim versus Nariman Abbasov. We'll just look at the betting lines right now. Now, we've got Ismael Bonfim is a very slight favorite, minus 138 on Betway, minus 125 on Bet Online right now, and Ismael Bonfim sitting at plus 105 on both open sports books. Do you agree with the line, Bert? Do you think that's quite a fair?
You got the odds. It was flipped for the odds right there.
Bonfim is plus 105. Abbasov. Yeah. Sorry, I might have got it wrong.
Yeah, I would disagree with the odds. I think Ismael should probably be the favorite around probably like minus 140, minus 150. About
honestly, I don't mind the odds. I think that this is a pick'em's fight, and I am on, just to say my pick right now, I am on the Ismael Bonfim side. Who are you picking in this matchup?
I'm gonna go Ismael Bonfim in the fight. I think grappling wise, we'll see some instances of it in the fight. A few takedown attempts from Nariman and stuff like that. But Ismael is good enough on the ground with his jiu-jitsu and takedown defense. I think he's going to make it a striking fight, and I think his kickboxing is a lot more technical. He's going to land a little bit more volume than Nariman, and Nariman, I don't think he's going to find the mark too many times throughout the fight. I'm going to go Ismael to win.
Yeah, I've got a lot to say about this fight. I've researched this fight a lot. I mean, I've never actually researched a fight for Dana White's Contender Series this much, because I thought, looking at a guy that's 17-3, 28-3, I thought I had to put the time in, and I really have. And I've eventually sided on Ismael Bonfim as well, because what I'm seeing out of Nariman Abbasov is, you look at this guy's record, and on paper, this guy is defeating some very impressive levels of competition. He's 28-3. I wouldn't even call it a 28-3 padded record either. He defeated a guy that was 32-4, 40-6, 4-1, which is a little bit iffy, but 14-8 and 20-5 in his last 5 fights. But Nariman Abbasov on the feet, when I say all this guy throws is hooks and overhands, that is all this guy throws. He's only throwing hooks and overhands, and he's throwing a lot of volume. In my opinion, he's actually throwing a lot more volume than Bonfim is, but he's missing a lot of these strikes, and you do see him slow down towards the end of the fight, where if you watch an Ismael Bonfim fight, this guy's got very, very technical boxing, very, very technical kickboxing as well. And when you look into him, he actually had a 24-3 amateur boxing record, followed up by a 4-1 professional boxing record as well. So you know that Ismael Bonfim is bringing some boxing experience prior to MMA as well. And then even in the grappling as well, Nariman Abbasov, I saw him taken down very, very easily by Marif Paraev in that second round, and he was beating up Marif Paraev pretty badly, to the point where it was actually stopped in the corner after the second round. But Paraev was very easily able to take down Abbasov. So even if it gets to it, I think Ismael Bonfim could probably end up on top of Abbasov and use his jiu-jitsu game. But as you said, I would say the wrestling advantage in general is definitely on the Abbasov side. I think that Abbasov throws a lot more volume, but I think that Ismael Bonfim is a lot more technical, and straight punches are going to beat the looping punches of Abbasov, in my opinion. And do you have anything to add to that?
No, I would pretty much agree with all of what you said there. Nariman, he kind of likes to come forward, get your back to the cage, look for some takedowns, but the punches that he's throwing to do so, kind of like a classic USA wrestler that becomes an MMA fighter, or they're just trying to throw really big whooping shots to kind of get the distance close and get the takedown. If he's doing that with Ismael Bonfim, like you said, his boxing accolades as an amateur and things like that, his kickboxing technical prowess, should be able to pick him apart as he's coming in with the big old looping punches. So I would agree with most of what you said there.
And when it comes to the level of competition, would you say that Nariman Abbasov has fought the higher level of competition, or do you like what you've seen from Bonfim?
I would say Nariman recently has fought like a lot of guys with crazy good records, but the last 2 or 3 fights from Ismael Bonfim, he's definitely taken a step up inside of the LFA. So it's hard to tell because you got the LFA Brazilian fighters that he's fighting, and you got Nariman fighting over there. So I would honestly say the level of competition's pretty even between the two right here.
And I probably will add, you've seen a lot of these guys with 32-4 records, 40-6, crazy records, but there is a lot of fights like guys that are 4-1 kind of mixed in there. Like a lot of these fighters are padding their records a little bit, but they are by no means padded records, like padded to the extreme. A lot of these guys are actually fighting good competition themselves. But if you look into the Tapology votes, you've got 86% picking Abbasov, most of them picking by knockout as well. What do you make of that, and why do you think the community is so heavily behind Abbasov in this matchup?
The reason why everyone's on Abbasov, if you look at his record right now and you go down to how many wins he's got by knockout, he's got 12 knockout wins, 11 decisions, and 5 submissions. And his last few fights, TKO, 3 in a row. People are seeing this 28-3 record. They're seeing him knocking out guys with 40+ wins, 30+ wins. So I don't think they're necessarily looking at the film, looking at the fights themselves, but looking at the fact that he's knocking out these guys with such good records of 46-1 and 30 wins and things like that. They're not really actually watching the fight themselves.
Yeah, I would tend to agree there, because when I first saw this matchup and I saw 28-3 and I saw the records, I was like, man, there's no way this Nariman Abbasov guy is going to lose. This Nariman Abbasov guy could probably make a run in the top 15. And to be fair, he's only 28 years old. He probably could go on to make a good run. But at the moment, what I'm seeing out of the striking style, as you said, really is from like a very heavy American wrestler that is only striking to closer distance. And that's really what he does. He throws a lot of hooks and overhands, but the difference is he's not throwing like he's not attempting like a lot of takedowns with his striking. He really is striking to get damage. And as we both said, he's throwing hooks and overhands. And when I say that's the only things that he's throwing, it really is. He does have kicks. He definitely does have kicks in the arsenal, but for the most part, it's overhands, it's hooks, and the occasional uppercut exiting the clinch as well. So we're both on Bonfim in that one there.
You got a finish or a decision on the fight?
I'm going with Bonfim by late finish, because in my prediction video, I did say that I think that Nariman Abbasov is going to slow down. I think he's going to gas out a little bit. I think that Ismael Bonfim will eventually catch a tired Abbasov, because we have seen Nariman Abbasov get tired in his fights in the past if they do extend to the second or the third round.
All right. I would lean towards decision, but I see what you mean, where Abbasov could definitely gas out, going for all those looping punches, wearing his arms out, just will not be able to take on the amount of damage Ismael's going to throw in those later rounds. But I'm going to lean towards more of a 29-28 decision for Bonfim. I think round 1 is probably going to be the closest round, because that's when Nariman is going to be fresh and able to land those bigger shots a little bit better. But round 2 and round 3, like you said, he's going to be a little bit more tired, not able to land with those whooping punches as much. And I think Bonfim wins those 2 rounds to get the decision.
Yeah, I tend to agree there, because if you do actually watch Ismael Bonfim's fights in LFA, he's not really throwing a lot to get a finish. So he's not throwing a lot of power shots. He really is just trying to outpoint and just outclass and out-technique his opponent. So I definitely do understand a decision side on that one there, because Bonfim isn't throwing overhands and hooks to take your head off like Abbasov is. Bonfim is very technical with what he does. And I think that is definitely a credit to his amateur and professional boxing background for sure. But to talk about the grappling as well, just before we move on to the next fight, do you believe that Bonfim probably has the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu advantage just in general, or do you like the grappling in general of Abbasov?
I would give the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu advantage to Bonfim. It's just how is he going to use it? I don't necessarily think he's going to be able to go out there and take down Nariman Abbasov with ease. Could be possible. He might get a takedown or two, but I don't think it's going to be enough to where he holds him down there for enough time to be able to knock off a submission or anything like that.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't expect the fight to go to the ground, but even if it does, I think it probably will be Abbasov looking for the takedown, or even Bonfim just kind of collapsing on Abbasov in the clinch and then getting a takedown from there potentially later in the fight. But now you've got Jimmy Lawson taking on Kevin Szaflarski, sorry. And I'm excited for this one, man. This is a crazy fight. You've got Jimmy Lawson as the minus 175, minus 188 favorite. Kevin Szaflarski plus 140, plus 150 right now. What do you make of the odds?
They should be a pick 'em, in my opinion. Should be minus 110, minus 110. Jimmy Lawson is a guy that goes out there, looks for the knockout as fast as he possibly could. We've never what have we seen from him in round 2 or round 3? We never get to see this guy go later on in the fight. So if he goes so outlandishly for that first round knockout and gasses out, he'll lose in later rounds, but he might get the knockout. So I would say it's a 50-50.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking when I was studying this. I was thinking, man, I'm spending all this time studying this fight and it could be over in 30 seconds like most Jimmy Lawson fights are. And it's just a complete waste of time. you know, that let's just get into the fight. So I'm actually going with Kevin Szaflarski. And I believe in my prediction video, I did say that I think Kevin survives the first round from Jimmy Lawson and then just works his skill set from there. Because out of the two, I think it's a pretty fair assessment to make that Kevin Szaflarski is the more skilled MMA fighter out of the two.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He's taller, he's lengthier, he's a little bit more of a technical striker. Probably is going to be able to have a little bit of an advantage clinch-wise, wrestling-wise, grappling-wise. Later on as the fight goes, once Jimmy Lawson has kind of expended it, if it does go to those later rounds, but I would agree. He's slightly more of a skill fighter than Jimmy Lawson here.
Yeah, so with that being said, you're saying either Jimmy Lawson's probably going to finish it in the first round or Kevin Szaflarski's going to win later on. Who is your prediction for this fight?
This is probably my toughest one I had going for kind of like the reasons you were saying. It could be a late finish. It could be an early finish from Jimmy Lawson. Maybe it's a decision for Kevin Szaflarski for all I know. It's contender series. A lot of crazy things can happen, but I'm gonna lean Jimmy Lawson. I'm not out here saying I'm 100% confident on Jimmy. I'm not gonna be like that. Minus 175 is crazy. Jimmy only has 5 wins as a pro. One of them was a loss when it did go to the later rounds, and he did lose the fight by decision, like you see on the screen. But I think he's gonna go for broke, and I got a feeling he's gonna catch him with something with his back to the cage in the middle of round number 1.
That's a very fair assessment, and we do see that happen quite a bit on Dana White's Contender Series heavyweights. They go for broke in the first round. We saw a couple of weeks ago where Michael Parkin picked up a win over Eduardo Neves, and Eduardo Neves had 2 minutes of gas tank. So maybe Lawson's got 2 minutes of gas tank, but I will actually give some credit to the level of competition that Lawson debuted against. I mean, obviously, Saeed Soma was 1-1 at the time, so it makes sense as a matchup, but Saeed Soma has gone on to fight in Bellator, and I believe he has got a couple of wins in Bellator right now. So that's not really a terrible loss to have on your record as a debut, in my opinion anyway. But yeah, since then, as you were saying, Jimmy Lawson's gone on a tear. He's looking for KOs. His last 3 wins have come by KO in 34 seconds or less. Like, you're looking at a guy that was 6-3. He knocked him out in 18 seconds. When he was 1-1, he took on a guy with a similar record, knocked him out in 22 seconds. And then he took on another more experienced opponent with not the cleanest record in the world, but more experienced opponent. And he knocked him out, ground and pounded him out in 34 seconds. But I will say something, though, about this fight is Jimmy Lawson's actually a D1 wrestler. So he's got a great wrestling skills in his back pocket, but we're not seeing this wrestling background at all in his fights. He's looking for a KO.
He's kind of like Justin Gaethje when he joined the UFC. All wrestling out of the window. Let's bang, bro.
Yeah, pretty much. But to give some credit to Kevin Szaflarski, if I can click on the link without Zoom annoying me, he's 11-1. He's the much more experienced fighter as a professional and an amateur. And as Bert mentioned, we were talking about amateur records as well. And for us, it's pretty much amateur records can mean something, but it really depends on the level of competition that you are fighting as an amateur. And the truth is, Kevin Szaflarski at this point, it probably is just glorified practice, because all of Kevin Szaflarski's amateur wins have come over debuting guys, I believe. And you could look at his record as well and say, man, he fought in the IMMAF 2015 World Championships. And yes, he did. But this guy here, I don't believe ever fought again. And this guy here was 0-2 as an amateur at the time. So I don't really know what the go is there, but I guess it was just really good experience. And then he did lose his debut by injury at the end of the first round. And since then, he hasn't really fought the greatest levels of competition at all. To be fair, I mean, he did recently pick it up against a guy that was 7-1 and 7-5. But before that, he wasn't really testing himself too much, really, with a lot of experienced opponents, 17-10, 7-4, 7-14, like experience, but not going to test you, I guess, when you're so skilled. But yeah, as we were saying, Jimmy Lawson, the more powerful guy, he's going to look to take out Kevin Szaflarski in probably the first minute of the fight, couple of minutes of the fight. But Kevin Szaflarski, he does fight behind a jab. He does have good clinch control, and he is the much taller fighter in this matchup. Only a small reach advantage, but he is 6 inches taller than Jimmy Lawson, which could definitely play a factor for sure. So yeah, I think that's kind of where we'll leave that fight there. It really is either Jimmy Lawson by KO in the first round, or Kevin Szaflarski survives the onslaught in the first, and then he moves on and does his sort of fights behind his jab, fights at range, and clinches up maybe with Jimmy Lawson. Maybe even gets a takedown in the third round if Lawson's tired. But I think that Kevin Szaflarski, in my opinion, either wins a decision 29-28, or he gets a late finish over Jimmy Lawson, who may or may not be tired. We haven't seen his gas tank tested in years. I mean, he's never seen the second round in about what, 3 years, 2.5 years. So we never know with this one here, but I'm going with Kevin Szaflarski by late finish, and you're going with Lawson in the first round. Is there anything you want to add before we move on?
Don't bet it. That's it. Do not bet it. Minus 175 is freaking horrible for Jimmy Lawson. Don't bet it. Listen to Artem right here. Underdog or pass for this fight.
Yeah, so we've got about 8 minutes of meeting time because I'm not a pro member on Zoom. So let's speed it up a little bit. We've got Gabriel Bonfim taking on Trey Waters. And did you have a bet on Benjamin Bennett when he fought Trey Waters, Bert?
I did. He was in my parlay with two other guys I'm forgetting the name of on that card. And I looked away for 1 second. I was like, this is a for sure win. Benjamin Bennett's winning every single round. And then Trey Waters comes out of nowhere with a knee. 23 seconds left in the fight. I mean, this dude can pull things from anywhere at any time in the fight. It was crazy.
Yeah, he really can. And just to say, this is a very short notice opponent. I believe Trey Waters only accepted the fight about a week ago. So he's taking the fight on 1 to 2 weeks notice against Gabriel Bonfim, who's a very game opponent. But I do want to emphasize that Benjamin Bennett win isn't just a win over any guy that is 3-0. This is actually a very good win. If we look at Benjamin Bennett's record here in the amateur scene, he went 18-4, 2017 IMMAF world champion, and was beating some pretty good amateur guys. And his only losses were to Alex Martinez, who's in the PFL, William Starks, who's in LFA right now, Brendan Allen, you guys know Brendan Allen, and then he did lose to Raymond Gray, who I don't think went on to do anything, but that was at the very start of his career. So yeah, that Benjamin Bennett win, in my opinion, is a great win to have on your record, even though he was losing the fight. And then just to talk about Gabriel Bonfim, I see a very good boxing skill set from Gabriel Bonfim, just like I see out of Ismael Bonfim. He's got really good technical boxing. He's got a pretty good jiu-jitsu game as well. But for the most part, he is able to finish it on the feet and on the ground. He's definitely a finisher. I believe he's got 12 wins by finish without opening up his record. And what do you think about Bonfim in this matchup?
I think Bonfim should win the fight, not only because it's short notice, but because of the advantage he's going to have on the ground. He's an amazing jiu-jitsu guy. I think like 4 out of his last 5 wins have come by submission. He's just, once he gets the fight to the ground with Trey Waters, if he tries to get up, he'll be in threat of getting submitted. And if he doesn't get up, he'll be on the ground for the whole fight and lose the decision. So submission or decision most likely for Gabriel Bonfim in the fight. Waters needs to pull something crazy like he did with Benjamin Bennett, like a flash KO later on in the fight to win.
Yeah, because that's what I'm seeing a little bit different. I think for the most part, this fight might actually end up on the feet because I think that Gabriel Bonfim, I think he's just better everywhere. I will say that. But I think if Benjamin Bennett was having success on the feet with Trey Waters, I think that Gabriel Bonfim is going to be pretty comfortable to stay on the feet with Trey Waters and win the fight on the feet. I think he might even finish the fight towards the end. But you've got Bonfim. I believe he's sitting at -275. Yeah, -275 for Bonfim, -255 on Bet Online. Do you agree with the odds there, and do you think that they're worth it, for that price?
I would say those are some pretty solid odds. They're right around where I would have them. So I think those are right where they should be for Gabriel Bonfim there.
Yeah, I don't mind -250 for Gabriel Bonfim. I mean, betting Dana White's Contender Series is very risky. It really is.
A lot of underdogs.
Yeah, there's a lot of underdogs that cash on Contender Series. They really throw me off. But I think -250 is a pretty good price for Bonfim. So yeah, definitely grappling advantage. But I think the fight takes place on the feet. Bert thinks it takes place on the ground. Bert is probably right, but I'm thinking that Bonfim uses that boxing background and just beats Trey Waters up on the feet. Maybe even mixes in some takedown. But I think that he does end up finishing the fight at some point. So yeah, 93% picking Bonfim, most of them by submission as well. So we're both predicting that the Bonfim brothers finish their fights. You're predicting we're both predicting that Bonfim brothers win their fights and then potentially get signed. I mean, that would do. I mean, I feel like the winner of Ismael Bonfim versus Abbasov gets signed no matter what, right?
Oh,
that
yeah.
just makes sense.
100%.
And then Gabriel Bonfim, if he beats Trey Waters impressively, 13-0 record, why would the UFC not win them? So we've got 3.5 minutes of the meeting left. So let's just get into the rematch. What do you make of this rematch?
It's another one of those kind of like Jimmy Lawson type of fights on this card where you got Vitor Petrino, who's got amazing power in his hands, just knocked out Gadra Muravantagulov and UAE Warriors in the second round. His takedown defense needs some work, I would say, which is kind of worrisome fighting a guy like Rodolfo Bellato, who's pretty decent on the ground. A lot of his wins coming by submission. So, I mean, it is a rematch, like you said. Vitor did knock him out, I believe, 20 seconds, 30 seconds in, something like that.
Yeah, 25
so
seconds,
again, like I said, kind of like the Jimmy Lawson fight, Vitor needs to go out there, defend any takedowns that come his way, and look to bang before the fight hits the mat and look for that KO.
So who do you think wins? Do you think that Vitor Petrino wins the fight?
I am going to go Vitor Petrino, but I think it goes a little bit longer than the first fight. I don't think it's going to be another 20, 30 second knockout. I'm leaning end of first round, beginning of second.
Well, a big part of me really does want to pick Rodolfo Bellato in this matchup because I genuinely do believe if Rodolfo Bellato gets this fight to the ground, it could be over. I think that Vitor Petrino's grappling is not the level of Bellato. I think that Bellato really could lock up something on the mat if it gets to the ground. Do you agree? I see you shaking your head a little bit there.
No, I'm not shaking my head. I'm agreeing with you 100%. If Rodolfo gets this to the ground one time and Vitor is on his back, I don't think he's going to get up. And I think if he tries to get up, like I said with the last fight, his back's going to get taken. He's going to get guillotined. He's probably going to get submitted. Vitor needs to stay away from that because if it gets down there one time, it's going to be done.
That's why it's so risky picking this one here. It's not just, Vitor Petrino won the first fight. He should win again. It really is Rodolfo Bellato. If he goes in there, takes down Vitor Petrino, he probably does win the fight, which is why it is so risky picking Petrino. Picking the striker in a grappling matchup in general, I find is somewhat risky, in my opinion anyways. But I think that Vitor Petrino's got the mindset advantage, the mental advantage coming into this one, because Rodolfo Bellato is going to be coming into this matchup, in my opinion at least, thinking, oh, well, this guy knocked me out last time. I was 5-0. He was doing his debut, and he might have made improvements. He might knock me out again. Oh, I don't want that to happen. And then Vitor Petrino is going to be thinking, I knocked this guy out. I should be able to knock him out again.
Yeah, he might. We've seen a lot of guys that do rematches when they get knocked out be a little bit tentative to kind of come in because they're worried about getting getting clipped again and getting knocked out. So you never know how that's going to affect the guy until the fight actually happens. So we'll just have to see on Tuesday.
Yeah, I feel like that is a very big reason as to why I'm picking Petrino. It's not the greatest reason in the world, but I think it's a very important part of this matchup, considering it is a rematch. So we've got less than a minute left because I don't have Zoom Pro. Let's just end it there. Thank you very much for your time, Bert, and hopefully we can do something again in the future. Maybe some sort of other card, but I do love Dana White's Contender Series, and I do think this card is ridiculously stacked for a Contender Series card, which is why I wanted to get you on the show so we can both talk about this card together, man. This is a crazy card.
Yeah, it's one I would say the best